Hey there, I'm Sarah A. Chrisman, the author of The Tales of Chetzemoka, and for those of you who've been eagerly anticipating Book 7 in the series, I'm very pleased to announce that it just came out. The title is Sparks Press, and you can get it on Amazon. In this book, Felix deals with some big news in 1889, when Seattle burns to the ground and then when Washington Territory becomes a state. And like all the Tales of Chetzemoka, it has recipes in the back for foods that come up in the stories, and today I'm going to make one for you. This is the white fruitcake that McCoy gives to Sophie when they're exchanging Christmas presents. The original 19th century recipe, which appears at the end of Sparks Press, goes: stir to a cream 1 pound of butter and 1 pound of powdered sugar. Add the beaten yolks of 12 eggs, 1 pound of flour, and 2 teaspoons of baking powder. Grate 1 coconut, blanch and chop 1/2 pound of almonds, and slice 1/2 pound of citron. Stir into the stiffly beaten white of the eggs and add to the batter. Put in a pan lined with buttered paper and bake slowly 2 hours. Sometime in the 20th century, it fell out of fashion for Americans to have cooking scales in our kitchens, which is unfortunate because weight and volume don't always translate very well into each other. Americans these days are mostly accustomed to dealing with volume measurements, but if you look up the volume of a dry ingredient compared to its weight, you're going to find a lot of very different conversion rates in different sources, and it all comes down to how fluffy the dry ingredient was when someone measured it. Butter is fairly easy because it's become standardized. 1 pound of butter is 2 cups or 4 sticks of butter. For everything else, here are some useful conversion rates. 1 pound of powdered sugar is about 2 1/3 cup. 1 pound of flour is about 4 cups. 1/2 pound of almonds is about 1.5 cups. 1 coconut, once you've got it shredded, is going to be about 1.5 cups. And 1/2 pound of citron is about 1.5 cups, although I've usually seen citron sold in half-pound packages. A slow oven is around 250 to 300 degrees. And one more thing to remember is that modern eggs are oftentimes very, very large. So if you're using modern eggs in a historic recipe, you might have to reduce the number of eggs by 1 or 2. When I got my chickens, I specifically got a smaller breed so that I wouldn't have to worry about reducing the number of eggs when I make all the historic recipes that I make. If you're getting eggs from the supermarket, you just have to use your judgment on how big the eggs are and whether or not you'll have to reduce the number in the recipe. The full version of this recipe will fill 2 loaf pans. Now I should say just a word about citron, because there's a lot of confusion about it. Although if you're Jewish, you probably know this already, so you can skip this part if you already know it. Citron is a tropical fruit. Now, the French word for lemon is citron, so a lot of people tend to think that citron is lemon. But citron is actually a different fruit from lemon. It's just, they're kind of similar. They're both citrus fruits, but it is a very different fruit. A citron is the fruit of a small evergreen tree cultivated around the Mediterranean and in the West Indies. An open-handed version, also called a Buddha's hand, symbolizes happiness and longevity in various Asian cultures, and a close-handed version, which resembles a knobbly lemon, is an important part of the Jewish Sukkot tradition, the most joyous of Jewish holidays. Only the best and most beautiful citrons may be used in these religious ceremonies, and the vast majority that don't make the cut find their way into the food industry, generally destined to be made into jam or candied. Citron fruit has very little juice compared to a lemon, and a much thicker peel. The candied peel is what we use in fruitcake. just in case any of you out there are tempted to skip the step about the buttered paper, don't. You will never get the cake out of the pan if you don't line the pan with buttered paper. And you can trim off the edges above the cake line if you want to keep the paper above the cake line from getting too crispy. I've personally never had the paper on a baking project actively catch fire, but sometimes it can just get a little too brown and it smokes a bit. So that's why I like to trim it off above the level where it's actually going to be contacting the cake. Ta-da! White fruitcake. So there I've got my white fruitcake. Thank you for watching today. I hope you enjoyed this video. If you did, please give it a nice thumbs up and remember to tell your friends about my books. Happy reading and Merry Christmas! Okay, for today's recipe, I'm going to need your guys' help. So will you help me? I'll need your full cooperation for lots of eggs. I bet you can do it. Yes, you can, can't you? Yeah, you can help me out. You're a good helper. Good girls.